Namaste, everybody, and we will today research chapter 4 from verse 11 to whatever we can till about 4, 5 or so, and then we will do the discussions for about 20 minutes. So, in verse 11, Śrī Kṛṣṇa says, in whatever way people approach me, I reward those people who follow my path only. So, and in verse 12, he says, sacrifice longing for success in action to the devas quickly, because in this human world, success is achieved when there is action. So let's look at verse 11. What is Sri Krishna's path and what is the reward? One of the things that has always been part of Sanatana Dharma is that there are multiple paths to the truth. And but why does Sri Krishna says that those that follow my path only? It seems very strange at first sight that Sri Krishna should say that only if you follow my path, I will give you, moksha or whatever. But actually, that's not what Sri Krishna is meaning, in my view. Now, we can discuss this. In this case, what Sri Krishna is trying to say is that the focus should be very clear. If you are following me by listening, by observing, or by trying to understand Srimad Bhagavad Gita, then that focus has to be sharp and clear. And if your focus is sharp and clear, then the reward is commensurate with your effort. And this is how I interpret this particular verse. Though there may be others who interpret it in a different manner. And what is the reward that Sri Krishna is able to give? Now, this is another interesting thing because if Sri Krishna is Adi Yajna, the sacrifice, the primordial sacrifice, what is it that he is able to give to the person who follows his path? In my view, it is essentially the destruction of the self and merger with Sri Krishna. Because anybody who is struggling or who is following the path of Sri Krishna will automatically he will or she will merge with Sri Krishna. And that means that is the only reward that a person gets. And that is the destruction of the self, merger with Sri Krishna. But merger with Sri Krishna and the destruction of the self means merger with the Brahman. Simple as that. It doesn't matter whether it is Sri Krishna or Shiva or something else. Essentially, if the subject and the object have no schism or differences between each other, then what happens is that the purusha or the self is nullified and merges with the Brahman. This is my interpretation of verse 11. We can discuss on this. In verse 12, what he says is, sacrifice longing for success in action to the devas only quickly. Because in this human world, success is achieved when there is action. Now, this is another interesting thing. Here in the previous verse, he is saying that if you approach me, I will reward those people who follow my path only. But in the next one, he says, sacrifice longing for success in action to the devas quickly. So here again, in my view, he is supporting verse 11 by saying that if you sacrifice everything that you want to do the promoter of or your ideal or what we call Ishtadeva, then what happens is that you merge with the Ishtadeva just as you would merge with Sri Krishna if Sri Krishna was your Ishtadeva. And the success that he is talking about here is twofold. One is the success in material world. That is, suppose you set your heart on becoming the managing director of a company. If you have sacrificed your action to Sri Krishna or your Ishtadeva, you will become successful. There is no doubt, because you will work without the sense of self. So all your action will be in the form of a sacrifice. And if that action comes as a sacrifice, automatically the focus is sharp on an outcome. When the focus on the outcome is sharp, there is no ahankara or sense of doership. Automatically, success is assured. Even if success does not come, the feeling of having not reached the goal does not exist, because every time, see, success is not one shot. It is a series of steps which allow you to get to the goal. So if ahankara is not there, you are constantly open to change. When you are open to change, suppose one path to the goal is not being achieved, then automatically you are willing to change your path so that you reach the goal. So, in my view, the way Sri Krishna talks about in verse 12 is that if your focus is on the goal and it is nirahankara, and if you have sacrificed your outcome to your Ishtadeva, then your achievement is going to be successful for two reasons. One is that you are not affected by the outcome, number one. Number two, because you are working without ahankara, your ability to change, your willingness to change is high. So, if for instance you're driving from here to Mumbai and you lose your way, if you're near ahankara, you're willing to ask somebody, "Arey boss, I'm in the, how do I get to Mumbai?" And that person will tell you, you have to go like this, like this, like this. However, if you are full of yourself and you're saying, no, 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 I can't ask, I'm only going to rely on whatever I have heard, then you're going to get lost. So essentially, any activity that we start, if you sacrifice the need for success and the need for doership, success is assured. And this is my interpretation of verse 12. Now we go to verse 13. The four categories of people are created by me based on their orientation. The orientation is to action. Also know that though I am the initiator, I am not engaged and I am imperishable. Actions do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruit of action. Thus, those that know me are not bound by action. Thus, having known how fervent ancient seekers of the truth perform karma as the ancients did. Very interesting three verses. So the four categories of people are created by me based on their orientation to action. Guna karma vibhaga saha. That is, our action is driven by our gunas. So let's just look at the four varnas, or the four categories of people that Sri Krishna is referring to. And essentially, what are they supposed to do? And how are they supposed to do it? And what happens if they don't do it in the way they are supposed to do it? Let's start with the Brahmanas. Brahmana means what? Who is a Brahmana? A Brahmana is fundamentally one who is engaged in Brahma Vidya, that is, cognition of the truth. Not only is the person immersed in the cognition of the truth, the person is also trying to tell others how to get there, because one of the purushartha is to reach moksha. So the Brahmana is supposed to reach moksha and teach others how to reach moksha. That is the fundamental role of the Brahmana. The second role, the second Varna is the Kshatriya. In the next chapter, which is Dhyana Yoga, we will realize that dharma cannot be assumed. It has to be maintained. That means somebody has to sit there and ensure that all people behave in a natural manner so that the harmony of society is maintained. So while the Brahmana talks about how the Brahma Vidya, what Brahma Vidya is, the substrate which maintains order and harmony in society amongst people is maintained by the Kshatriya. Okay, there are nuances. I mean, the Brahmana also interprets the Shastras and the Sampradayas and the Dharma in order that the Kshatriya is able to implement it. So we have the knowledge base and the operational base. So that is there. There is no doubt about that. But that does not preclude the Kshatriya from also being a knowledge provider as far as Dharma is concerned. So we have the Brahmana who is doing the Brahma Vidya plus certain amount of contribution to understanding order and Dharma, the Kshatriya who maintains Dharma, the Vaishya who provides the means with which Dharma's resources of Dharma can be made available, and finally the Shudra who ensures that all of this is productive. The productivity is actually happening because you can't have an army of generals. You need people who will get things done. But the important thing that you will see here is that none of this precludes the individual from reaching moksha, nor does it say that one is different or better than the other. Because it is dependent completely guna karma vibhagasaha. That is, guna karma vibhagasaha means what? Your karma, is, if it is aligned with the guna, then you are in some category. So it's very clear, at least during the period of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there is no differentiation between who does what. That comes later in Manusmriti. But in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, there is no difference between the various Varnas. Also know that though I am the initiator, I am not engaged and imperishable. So what he is saying that though he controls Prakriti, he is not the initiator of the action on the individual. That means what? He is primordial sacrifice. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is sacrifice. The yajna, Adi yajna. So he says that when once Purusha comes into the picture, Śrī Kṛṣṇa is only the initiator of Prakriti. What does that mean? Let me give you a simple example. Suppose you're standing in a bus stop. Your bus is going this way, that way, people are going this way, that way, carts, auto rickshaws, motorcycles. You are not engaged in any of this. When you are not engaged in any of this, that is Prakriti. That is moving. It is happening. You are not engaged. You are also not the initiator of that action. So you are not the initiator, you are not engaged. So what happens? It is happening. But the minute you get engaged in something, suppose you keep your, suddenly you notice a child falling, automatically your attention goes there. The minute your attention goes there, the Purusha becomes engaged. The sense of identity becomes engaged. Ahankara becomes engaged. You then say, that mother, she doesn't know how to look after the child. Suddenly, the Purusha has become engaged. There is a bandhana and the karma has been created. That is precisely what Śrī Kṛṣṇa is saying. He is saying that know that though I am also the initiator, that is, it is moving. Traffic is moving. I am not engaged. When you are not engaged with the child until the child fell, the child was also not there. And this movement of Prakriti is continuous. You are not, now, when you and I are sitting and talking, the traffic outside is still going on. It is moving. It is continuous. It is moving. None of us is engaged with the traffic which is moving outside right now. So it is imperishable. It is continuous. Until the purusha, the identity is engaged with it, there is no, it doesn't mean anything. And this is substantiated also in Srimad Bhagavad Purana. That is what we call Bhagavatam, where in the initial few verses on how the universe was created, it says that Prakriti existed everywhere. And then Purusha, once Purusha came into the game, then only karma begins to get initiated. So, number 14, verse 14 is action do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruits of action. Thus, those that know me are not bound by action. So, when do you know somebody? When you become that person. So, when you become Śrī Kṛṣṇa, then action do not taint you, nor will you desire the fruit of the action, because you don't have. There is no need for you to desire that fruit of action. Why? Because the purusha has been removed from the whole equation. So, for as long as purusha is engaged, there is karma. You will desire the fruit of action. But the minute you stop desiring the fruit of action and make everything into a sacrifice, then automatically you become Śrī Kṛṣṇa. And once you become Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the fruits of action are irrelevant to you. And you just observe everything happening like a third party, like as if it's a movie and you are not engaged in it at all. Thus, having known how fervent ancient seekers of the truth perform karma as the ancients did. So here, this is a very telling kind of a statement. What he is saying is that in the civilization of Bharat, people performed action without the ahankara. That is, the purusha was not engaged in the action. They were all seeking Brahma Vidya. And the action was continuously with persons being in the present. That means the purusha was not engaged. You did everything without the need for success, for the need of an outcome. You did it, just did it. That's it. You accepted the outcome that came without happiness, sadness, good, bad, right, wrong, without judgment. So the entire business of expectation was nullified when the ancients did action, performed action, or performed work. And he's saying that if you do it in the same way, you will reach the same goal. So this is my reading of the 5 verses today. So I'm opening this up for discussion. Please do contribute.
I'm not very clear on this aspect that we are there in the present, but we are not, in it. The action happens. And when the action happens, it is only the purusha which takes control at that time.
Okay.
So in the contemporary, this one, I'm not very clear on that.
Okay. So let me, let's say you have gone into a meeting. Okay. In the meeting, there are about 20 people. Okay. Now, the meeting is meant for one particular, some kind of an action, some kind of a outcome. However, when somebody is reading his WhatsApp message in some corner, can he be engaged in the meeting? No, he cannot be.
No.
Why? So, what is happening? The individual is in a different world as opposed to the person in the meeting who is actually actively managing the meeting or handling the meeting or participating in the meeting. What is the difference between the two of you? You are both human. We are both human beings. If I'm reading my Instagram posts or my WhatsApp messages, I am not in the meeting at all. I'm only physically in the meeting. So the purusha, the individual, is in a different meeting altogether. You are in a different meeting altogether. Is the meeting happening? It is happening. Am I making sense to you?
Okay, okay. I'm getting the line of thought. Okay.
So essentially, okay, now we come to the next part. Let us say you are in the meeting and you say something, you have a point of view, okay? You say that the organization must go in this particular direction, and somebody sniggers at you, somebody puts you down. You say, "You- what an idiot, you don't even know all these things or what." Now you've said this out of genuine concern. If that person's sniggering or that person's comment, one of two things can happen. One is you can you can shrink, you can collapse. Your self-worth can collapse. What is the self-worth? Self-worth is only a manifestation of the purusha. So if the purusha collapses and it becomes tamasic, it becomes quiet. It will not, when the purusha becomes quiet, prakriti will draw inside and not manifest. The second option you have is purusha can get very angry. You can burst out, how dare you talk to me like that? Or you can do repartee, or you can push back on the person. That means what? The purusha has become ambitious, it becomes passionate, and prakriti moves out. Third thing is, you can be even handed. You can listen to that person. Your purusha understands what is going on, but it is not taking it personally. We always use this word, right? Don't get take personally, man. But that personally means what? It means that the purusha is not affected. When the purusha is not affected, the response also will be even handed. It is not affecting the individual, the purusha, the asmita or the self worth of the individual. Am I making sense? Hansadan sir?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're making sense. I think I need to reflect on that. I'll get back to you again if I get it out. My only
Please, sir.
the other thing which immediately struck me was now when this is happening, the action is happening, and whether we are involved, not involved, that sort of a thing. The purusha comes into play. Okay. Now, when we say the purusha comes into play, and we are involved in that,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
When we are involved in that, is it possible that I'm not able to understand the aspect that we are there because we are not the doer and we are not anything there.
Okay. Let me put it this way, sir. Now you and I are having a discussion, right? Now there is a doubt. You have a doubt. Now let's not get into what the doubt is. You have a doubt. Now the doubt is, who has the doubt? The doubt is experienced by the individual. So when the doubt comes to you, how has it come to you? I have spoken. That means the speaking is the medium of transmission of data. But the speaking has got an underlying background. It's coming in packets that is called consciousness or chitta. So when first what happens, my my sense of identity, my purusha has got a point of view, and then my prakriti, the purusha and prakriti weave, and then it comes out through the indriyas. The indriyas are taking have are sitting on the chitta and comes to you, because the chitta is the common platform on which you and I are trading information. Another thing that the two of us are trading information is on dharma, because both of us, all of us, have been brought up in a particular manner, in a particular environment, and we have certain commonalities. So the dharma is the overall material base on which you and I are trading information. And the trading of information happens through the chitta. When I say something to you, your indriyas are all decoding that information. That wiring that happens is through the chitta. In the computer, it is called bits and bytes, and the coding is called binary. So on, off, on, off. That binary is what codes the entire transmission or data. In human beings or in all of nature, it is chitta. Even binary is based on chitta. Even the computer's information, there is a chitta, that is a consciousness which is moving the information from various parts of the computer so that the data is taken from one to the other. Similarly, you and I, we use communication. We call it communication, but actually it is the chitta. Now, if I had removed the video from this, there would be one level of chitta that is getting transmitted to you. However, if there is a video, a different level of chitta gets transmitted to you. So, what essentially happens is my purusha or my sense of identity weaves with my ability or my energies inside myself, and then it comes out as information in some form. That information is taken by you. If you, so the first thing that happens when the information comes to you is you evaluate the information. If the information is difficult to digest, it's taken inside, your entire prakriti moves inwards towards purusha and you become dense. That is called tamas. Your entire system struggles to digest the information. That is tamas. And depending on the wiring of your system, your body, the processing of information results. It's either fast, medium, or slow, or not at all. And then you reject it or you accept it. If you are open minded, if you are in a sattvic state, you're willing to accept it, but at the same time, you're saying, I need to reflect on it. So, the entire business of how you accept the information I am sending to you depends also on your state of being. That state of being is what Śrī Kṛṣṇa said in chapter 3 as natural state. The natural state of your svabhava will determine how you will take that information. So, entirely on the backbone of purusha, you have purusha and prakriti weaving with each other, which decides the guna. But because of your prarabdha karma or how you have your DNA, how your parents have brought you up, where you have studied, how you have studied, what you have taught through your life, what you have read, all of that makes it your swadharma. That swadharma becomes the base of your swabhava. Swabhava means your natural state. And that becomes the base on which you will accept my information or reject it. And that is precisely what we are talking about right now. Am I making sense?
Okay. Let me reflect on it on some more time.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
It isn't easy. It took, sorry, sir, it took me nearly 30 years to come to this conclusion.
Okay.
Anybody
I
else?
very much like your
Thank you.
explanation of the sattvic point and, the bringing in the gunas there and telling how the response will base on that.
Yes.
In which frame of gunas we are in.
Yes.
One is in.
Yes.
Very nice, very nicely connected. Suppose we are looking after a child, and we are concerned, we are keeping an eye, but we let the child play around and all. But in case the child is in any risky or dangerous position, then we will be there at that moment to respond, to prevent that happening or to remove that object or whatever. So we are involved, we are there, but not so much involved. We are not holding the child's hand and doing everything for the child, not like that. We are, that space that in today's language, that space is given to the child to go around and all that, play around. At the same time, we are present and we are involved only when it is necessary, to the extent necessary. Is that
No.
right example or no? Okay,
Not
okay.
because you see it again. It comes back to the natural state. You have been trained. You have been trained as a parent to be a person who provides a safety net and does not interfere with the child if, and you only come into the game when the child needs the safety net. However, other parents are not like that. You will find parents who will be controlling, who will tell the child, you can't do this, you can do this, you can do this. And there will be parents who will not look after the child at all. There are different kinds of parents. The point is that generally parents will give some space, and in some things, some space in other things. It is not necessary that every parent will give space in every kind of situation. So it is again coming down to the purusha, the identity. And the identity is built and or built by the natural state. That is our DNA, where we were born, which families we were born, how our parents looked after us, what school we went to, how our society dealt with us, and that forms the bedrock of what we call asmita, our sense of self worth. Like I have said before, one of the problems of Bharat is that because of centuries of subjugation, we of Bharat, we will find many people with a lower sense of self esteem. Why? Because we have been continuously told that we are not good enough. When you're continuously being told you're not good enough, you will always assume that you're not good enough. You'll notice very often parents, when they tell the child that you're useless, you're useless, you're useless, or they compare two children and say one child is good, one child is not good. The other child always will have a inferiority complex or a slightly lower self-esteem. The asmita is more tamasic. However, if the parents have given the child a kind of a very conducive environment to grow and to be balanced, and then the environment that they've lived in has been good, then the children begin to be very balanced. One of the problems of today's children, which I have noticed, and I think Kala madam will probably be in a better position to answer this question, is in my days, in our days, I mean, anybody who's above the age of 50 will be able to reflect. The amount of bullying that happened in school is much lower. Was lower. There was some bullying, but it was more in the form of teasing and things like that, which all children indulge in. Today, there is bullying in the sense that there is application of power over the other child. There is congregation of children with a particular sense of power, which is then applied on a weaker child. So this ends up damaging the psyche of the child dramatically. So this is a very new phenomenon which has occurred in the past 10, 15, 20 years, which which I have noticed at least. Uh, I don't know if Kala madam has anything to add to this. That when what I'm trying to say is that if something like that happens, then the psyche of the child is damaged very badly. And if the child is subject to continuous bullying, then the child is very badly damaged and needs actually counseling in order to overcome it. So that's basically what I'm trying to say, Lalta madam. Kala madam, what is your view as a teacher? You're a teacher.
Sir, I will tell you, we'll have to apply Bhagavad Gita principle in the classroom, sir. We have to make ourselves very strong. That is the essence of everything. Don't see, there could be, I tell this in the class also, see, there are so many chances. Probably there would be a situation that if you're in the professional classes or something, you might fail. Somebody would believe that is not end of life. If they bully, let them bully. If they do, let them do. If you fail, there is a compartment exam. There are semesters. So we have to just change the focus and take them through. Now, what I was thinking about this Karma Sannyasa Yoga, chapter 4, is yoga of
No,
renunciation.
one minute, no, Kala madam, before you go
Yeah.
further, my question is limited to just one part.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you see an increased bullying in schools today? That's a simple question.
There is a definitely increase in bullying because all the entire system ecosystem is running after marks. They are
Okay.
all running, so that is the core issue. School is running after marks, teachers, but then parents, the entire thing. So it's become some marks manufacturing machinery. So in that process there would be a lot of so those who don't get
The
marks,
winners and the losers
all
begin to
that.
get bullied.
So when as
Mm.
facilitators or whatever, we need to say marks don't matter. You develop your skill. So the total perspective, their perspective changes. Then they're calm. They don't feel let down. They feel that there is somebody to hold their hands. So okay, so you don't waste your time. You develop your skill. There are so many things people have done happily. So keep yourself happy and do something progressive, and probably value based learning and things like that. So people are happy, and a happy kid always is a performer. So we need to change the focus. We cannot go on. See what happens now over a period of time. We are only seeing this, so we are not thinking the way to overcome. So we focus and just bring a shift in our thought process through something else. So that is what we are following. We are like-minded group of teachers who follow this. Change the mindset and talk about something good, pleasant, happy things, and give them the life as a whole rather than giving in parts. Oh, see, today you're bullied, now that's end of life. Oh, you failed in this one. The internal marks, now you didn't get out, life is over. So, give them a better mindset.
But
That is,
Kala madam, you are talking about children who are victims of bullying. How do you stop children who are bullying from bullying?
you don't have to shout.
You have to be even-handed about everything.
Yeah, you don't have to tell, oh, you did, how can you do? You don't have to glorify the negative also. Just by talking in plain terms, by responding very calmly, you can
But
still
but
achieve success.
but Kala madam, see, you have the maturity of handling such situations. How do we do this? How do children, manage it between themselves? They don't have
I
that
tell you what,
maturity.
so the best part of a child is they are far more adaptable than all of us.
Hmm.
They don't stick to things like that. Today you might say, okay, you came and did that. Tomorrow you will see that fellow holding the other fellow's hand and they will walk happily. Oh, ma'am, just a friend. Why do you take it so seriously? And I want to add just one line about karma sannyasa yoga. Yoga of renunciation. What I thought, because we are living in some jungle of doubts and confusion, I think the only way forward is application of knowledge, and think that we are not the one doing everything. It's just going to happen, and you be calm and sacrifice. I think that whatever is sacrifice will go. Probably we are doing the Krishna's task of doing things. I think when we take that stand, I think life will be peaceful. Is what I.
Nirahankara.
Yeah.
One of the strengths of Bharat has been, in relation to the children only, I'm trying to say this, sir. One of the strengths has been accepting diversity. See,
Correct.
when we were children, when you and I, we were all children, we didn't have problems with differences, different religions. We still learned to coexist. We were okay with, okay, he's following that path, I am following this path. Today, our discussion has also been on similar lines, where Śrī Kṛṣṇa is saying there are so many paths. Now, all those paths are reaching that one Brahman only.
Yes.
So, in fact, our dharma has given us that flexibility to choose the path as per one's orientation.
Correct.
Now, this is what.
Without thinking that the other path is incorrect.
Correct.
See, that is the fundamental difference. Is that that's what he says, that the 4 categories are made by me, but that does not mean that the categories are different. You can follow whichever path you want, but at the end of the day, you come to the only one. There is only one truth.
Only one truth. And so that is what gave us all clarity, that while we pursued our individual paths with complete honesty, we had the sense, the wisdom to respect another path.
Correct.
Now, that was what was a hallmark of our generation. But now what is happening is children are not exposed to these truths. See, for us also, it's not like somebody sat down and taught us Bhagavad Gita. They lived these principles.
Yes.
People around us lived these principles. But nowadays, differences is what is being given more emphasis.
Yes.
That's the reason why children, youngsters, now as a mother of a teenager myself, I see that they are not able to accept differences easily. They are complicating matters.
Yes.
And validation by peer group is extremely important for children these days.
Yes, that's a very scary thing actually. Yeah, that can be very, very destabilizing and dangerous. Completely agree with you. Anybody
Yes,
else?
sir. See, as the children grow older, once they become opinionated, have ideas of their own, it becomes very difficult to penetrate through their minds and explain things, more so in today's society, where
Agreed.
so many things are around them to distract them from the path. So
One thing that what you're saying now
Huh,
comes back to some of the comments we've had in the classes before, that the
yes,
mother is the holder of dharma.
yes, sir. You
The
have told
mother
this, sir. Yes,
mother
yes,
is
sir.
the holder of dharma. She is the
Yes, sir.
one who teaches she is the first guru of the child.
Yes,
When the
sir.
the operating system is loaded by the mother. Of course, the father is a very significant action, but then the father goes out to work, and in the first 1, 2, 3 years, it's the mother who is actually building the child, the building block of the child's psyche is done by the mother. So the mother is the one who is building dharma, which is why
Yes,
she is called Dharmacharini. So
yes,
the whole house, she is the holder of dharma. The Grahya is held by her. So I
yes, sir.
completely agree with what you're saying. Thank you very much, and I hope you people have a wonderful weekend. And we will meet again next Saturday.